Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm in the process of getting dinner started, and I thought I'd bring y'all along with me. Today we're going to be making chicken Parmesan. It's been a little while since I've made this, so I am following the recipe pretty closely. But I'm going to be getting the egg wash / marinade ready for the chicken shortly. I've already grated up some cheese and minced some garlic that I'm going to be using in both the marinade and the sauce. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the very first thing that the recipe says to do is to get your egg wash ready, which also has some flavoring ingredients. It says to let the chicken marinate in this mixture for at least 15 minutes or overnight if you've got time for that. So I'm getting into this bag 2 eggs. I don't have just dried parsley, so I'm going to be using Italian seasoning mix in lieu of that. Salt and pepper, some minced garlic. In fact, let me go grab that minced garlic. I want to make sure all that flavor gets in there. I'll do a tablespoon of these Italian herbs. I'm going to need more later, and I don't have a whole lot left. I have about half of this jar. I might do a half a tablespoon of this here. It said to use a teaspoon of garlic powder or onion powder. I like to use both when I'm using one or the other, so I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of each, maybe just a little bit more. And salt and pepper. I think I'll do about a half teaspoon of each. I'm going to be eyeballing the pepper. I'm going to mix this really well. Make sure those eggs are broken. Knock all that extra seasoning off the side. And I'm going to clean my mess up real quick, and then we will get the chicken out and sliced. I just realized this only has 2 chicken breasts in it. It usually has 3. Not a big deal. I was already going to have leftovers anyway, but I just think that that's interesting. I think these packages usually come with 3 breasts. I'm going to cut these in half so that they're thinner, and then add them to that egg mixture.
Cutting chicken in half long ways is not one of my strong suits, but I did an alright job. There was a piece of chicken that kind of had a hole in it because of the shape of the chicken before I cut it, but it worked out, and it made portioning our plates way easier. Once I get that cut in half, I'm going to add that to our marinade and make sure that's mixed really well. By the way, this section is a voiceover because my husband came into the kitchen and was chatting with me for a few minutes. Once it's well combined and well coated, it goes into the fridge until we're ready to use the chicken.
Now while my chicken is marinating, I'm going to go ahead and get the sauce started, and I really want this to be packed full of flavor. So I've got a diced onion, some more minced garlic, and I'm going to start with a base of olive oil.
Ignore the cream cheese, that's for another video coming out pretty soon.
You always want to make sure that your pan is hot before you add any type of fat to it, and then let that get hot again. Because this pan is nice and small, it didn't take long to heat up. It looks like the oil is probably already ready. So first I will add my onion. I'm just going to cook this over medium until the onion gets nice and soft and translucent. I don't really want any browning on it. While this cooks down a little bit, I'm going to go get my canned tomatoes. So these are already looking pretty good. It's only been a few minutes, but they're starting to get soft. I think I'm ready to go ahead and add the garlic. And as soon as the garlic is fragrant, I'm going to add the tomato sauce and crushed tomatoes.
I'm using tomato sauce for volume and crushed tomatoes for texture.
Now I'm making a lot of sauce here. It seems like a lot, 1, because it's in a small pan, but also 2, some of the sauce is going to go on the chicken as it bakes, and then I also want some extra sauce available so that I can finish our spaghetti noodles in the sauce separately. And then we'll serve the chicken with the sauce and melted cheese over the noodles. I'm going to let this come back up to a boil and simmer until I'm ready to use it. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I want to add some Italian seasoning. I'll start with a half a tablespoon for now, but I might add some more later. And because I want my chicken to marinate as long as possible and this still needs to simmer for a while, I'm gonna go ahead and take this opportunity to get my broccoli chopped up. I'm gonna bake some broccoli along with the chicken, and that's gonna be our side. Salt and pepper.
You can also add some sugar to your tomato sauce if the tomatoes are just really acidic to you, but I prefer no sugar.
Ooh. That's why my stove is a mess. I'll clean that up right now. It's almost time to get the chicken back out, so I'm going to give you a quick tour of what's going on right now. I've got my sauce simmering over here. This is a cold pan. I'm going to heat this up with a little bit of olive oil in a minute, and this is going to be used to fry the chicken once I get it breaded. Back here, I've got a pot of salted water. It's warming up to start boiling. I'm going to cook my noodles in here. And then this is a baking sheet that I have oiled with olive oil. This is going to be used to bake the chicken after it's fried. And lastly, I've got all of my broccoli portioned up. This is going to bake along with the chicken. This bowl has the breading for the chicken. It's a mixture of a cup of breadcrumbs. I did Italian style since this is an Italian dish. It's also got about a half a cup to a cup of grated Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, and some garlic and onion powder. Here's a little bit of shredded mozzarella I had left over from earlier. I was making pinwheels. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have enough, and then I found this bag of shredded mozzarella, which I was supposed to use for the pinwheels, but I'm glad that I have this. And I've got some more Parmesan cheese I'm going to use to grate on top of the chicken once it's finished cooking. Now it's time for my least favorite part of frying, which happens to be the most important part, and that is the breading process. So I've got my chicken out of the fridge. It's been marinating for, I don't know, at least 30 minutes. And I'm going to very carefully take out a piece of chicken, let any excess egg mixture drip off if there is some, which there invariably is. I'll dip this in my bread mixture with my dry hand. I'll try and coat the wet chicken with the dry breadcrumbs and Parmesan and all that good stuff. Make sure that you do not have any exposed wet spots, because that will allow oil to get in and it will not stick properly. Now, I think I mentioned this earlier, maybe I didn't, but I'm not super great at cutting chicken in half, so this piece of chicken is a little bit interesting. I could probably get 2 pieces out of it. Make sure to pat really well to make sure that it's adhered nice and strongly. I'm going to do one more here. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. I'll get this on my plate. Next piece, wet hand into the bag, into the mixture, bread with the dry hand, pat really well, flip it to make sure everything's coated, and onto the plate. By the way, I am already heating up my cast iron skillet. I put it about just over medium, and once I get all of these pieces breaded, I'm going to add the oil. Since I'm frying it in olive oil, I don't want the oil to get too hot because olive oil has a low smoke point, especially the type that I'm using. I'm not using the kind that you're supposed to use to fry. Oops, but I know that it's going to have a much better flavor and be much healthier for us than just using vegetable oil, or I can't remember what I've got, maybe canola, which is questionable in the health department, but it is what it is. This might be my best looking piece of chicken yet. And last piece, I'm glad that I only have 4 pieces and not 6. Alright, so I'm going to take this over to my stove, get my oil heated up, and we'll go from there. I can already tell my oil is hot. It's nice and shimmery. I can tell it's kind of bubbling a little bit. So very carefully not to take any of this breading off, I'm going to gently lay these in the hot pan. I think I'm going to do these in batches because it looks like I'm only going to be able to fit about 3 in here at a time. And these are going to fry in here for about 4 to 5 minutes aside until they're golden brown. I just gave the first batch a flip, so here's a quick update. Look at this one, it's just the best looking one in my opinion. We are almost ready to move on to the next step. As you can see, I'm almost done frying the last piece of chicken. For the ones that are already done, I went ahead and put them in this baking dish. So I will finish up this last piece of chicken and be right back with you. It's time to top our chicken. This side of my baking dish was right up next to my boiling water, so I've got a hot pad underneath here. It's actually a dish towel. I'm going to grab my sauce and put a layer of sauce over, and then I'm going to grab my shredded mozzarella and top it with that. And then it'll be ready to go into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until the cheese is melted and the chicken's already cooked all the way through. Right now the chicken probably is not cooked all the way through in these wider, thicker parts, but it will be cooked through in the oven. And if I need, I've got some extra mozzarella. I probably will use that as well. When I pop the chicken into the oven, I'm also going to add my broccoli into the oven. They bake for about the same amount of time, about 15 or 20 minutes. So they should be done pretty close to the same time. And right after I get everything into the oven, I'll go ahead and add my noodles into my boiling water. And you can put as much or as little sauce on as you want. We're going to have some more sauce on our noodles as well. So I don't want to overdo it, but I still want to get pretty good coverage. I'm really excited for this. It smells so good already. Now this mozzarella that I shredded myself will melt better because it doesn't have the anti-caking agent on it, but it'll still be okay for me to use some of this pre-shredded stuff. It says tear here. I might need to get my scissors. Here we go. Can you ever have too much cheese? I don't think so. Alright, into the oven with the chicken and the broccoli. When I take out the broccoli, when I take both of these out, I'm going to grate a little bit more Parmesan on top of the broccoli and the chicken. And by then the noodles should be done, so I'll see you when everything's ready. Take a look at this broccoli. Sorry for the noise in the background, I started my dishwasher. I'm going to get some Parmesan on here and let that melt on top. And a little salt and pepper. If I had a fresh lemon, which I don't think that I do, I love squeezing fresh lemon on top of broccoli. It just really brightens up the flavor a lot in my opinion. Just a little bit of salt because I've already put Parmesan, that's a little bit salty too. Alright, now let me take you over to the chicken. I am really pleased with how this is looking. I got a nice browning on the cheese. Let's give this a good amount of Parmesan. They don't call it chicken Parmesan for nothing. And I'm just going to let these cool for a few minutes so we don't burn the roof of our mouths eating it, but as you can see, I've added my noodles to the sauce. Those are finishing up cooking in the sauce. Those look great. I'm really happy with the sauce to noodle ratio that I got this time. And then something I didn't mention, I don't know if you can see this very well, but I saw in my fridge some sun-dried tomatoes, and I thought that would be really a nice addition on top, so I went ahead and heated some of that up in my cast iron skillet. So I'm going to build our plate in just a few minutes, and I will show you the final product. Well guys, I am super happy with how this turned out. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. If you've got any suggestions for future videos, let me know that as well down there. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out some of my new content as that comes out. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!